Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. It's good to get together with you. We get together with our distribution partners most weekday mornings at this time, 8 o'clock Central. Today is Monday, May 15th, 2023. Today, we're going to talk about the new state director role, which should be shared here on my screen. There are two primary reasons why we are launching the state director role. The first of which is, as we grow rapidly and having a larger and larger team of small business consultants, which we'll define more in a moment, we needed some local leadership. So the state directors, which again I'll describe in a moment, are the leaders, obviously on a state-by-state basis, of the small business consultants. The second reason that we're launching the state director role is because a number of you have come to us and said, hey, I can help find more small business consultants who will go out and work with the clients. What type of override system is in place? And there wasn't. Now there is. So state directors are compensated based upon an override of the small business consultants on their team. Not MLM, not network marketing. There's no buy-in. There's no worry of that. So that's a quick introduction of why we're launching the state director role. We actually sent out initial communication over the weekend, had tremendous response, well over 100 inquiries, well over 100 applications for people wanting to be the state director of their state. We've approved some, others are pending, but at this point, most states are open. So if this is something that you might be interested in, please stay tuned in here and we'll show you how to apply. Free and easy. It's a simple one-page agreement. There's no consequences. It's just essentially us promising to pay you based upon the results of your small business consultants. So more background. So through the U.S. Startup Grant, which we applied for and received, I think you're all aware of that, we are hiring a leadership team of state directors. And of course, we provide free training, free certification. There's no cost that a state director would have to pay under any circumstances. Our goal ideally is to have one director per state. Timothy is asking where this came up with, this idea came from, and actually that matches perfectly with where we're at. So as most of you know, I used to work for the Small Business Development Center. So the SBDC is part of the delivery arm of the SBA. And so we built this to mirror the SBA SBDC model. So what does that mean? So in the SBDC in general, there is a state director, although some states have more than one director, like Texas. But in general, there's one director per state that oversees, that manages, that supports, that motivates the consultants, SBDC consultants, like I used to be. So in our world, we're going to have a state director responsible for the small business consultants in their state. Now, certainly, the way that the SBA, SBDC pays their state directors is much different. They're paid a relatively low amount, plus or minus, let's say 90 to 110,000 a year. Well, in our model, our state directors are paid based upon the performance of their small business consultants. So our state directors should make more in a month than state directors of SBA, SBDC make in a year. But we'll talk about specifically how the dollars flow through, so there's no miscommunication, no misunderstanding, 100% transparency. So with that being said, I think it's good to step back and say, okay, specifically, what's the job description look like of the state director? What do they do? And it's remarkably simple. One sentence. State directors recruit and lead a productive team of small business consultants to help small businesses. Now, we'll again define what small business consultants do. That hasn't changed. We've talked about it before. We'll talk about it more in a second. But that is what state directors do, is they build the team and they manage the team. Now, how they want to build it, up to them. How they want to manage it, up to them. Obviously, the bigger the team, the more productive the team, the more they make. And again, we'll go through the dollars and cents in great detail in a moment, but that is what state directors do. And I think this is a great fit. For a number of you, you have asked for a leadership role. You said, hey, I'd rather lead and manage and direct and work on a strategic level rather than doing the work. Well, here it is. That's the state director role. So if we understand that the state director is responsible for recruiting and leading a team of small business consultants, then we have to understand, well, what is it that the small business consultants do? And that, of course, is our next segment here. So let's go to that. What is it that small business consultants do? Well, and we've had very specific training that shows you the exact process. So if you're not familiar with that, please go to our careers page on guaranteedfunding.org, and you'll see that training video so you understand exactly the process, 100% transparency. But I'll summarize here, but we have a complete detailed description of exactly what small business consultants do. That's important, right? Because state directors want to fill the small business consultant roles with people that are a good fit, that want to do that, that are able to do that, that will do that. And then, of course, we want small business consultants to enroll that understand exactly what they're being asked to do. So 100% transparency. You can go to our careers page and you can see the training that goes through this. But in general, or at a high level, what it is that they do, small business consultants, they're not salespeople, by the way, but they conduct a systematic assessment of small businesses to determine if they're capital ready. So let's break that down. You and I know there's lots and lots of small businesses out there, and many of them, if not most, want to need money to start and grow. I think those are both unquestionable factual statements. But what's the problem? Some of them are not ready for funding. And that's what you and I do. We help them get ready for funding. But before you and I can really effectively offer to help them get ready for funding, we need to objectively identify maybe they're ready already. Maybe they're ready to go to funding. They don't need help. They just need funding. So that's exactly what we did when we applied for the grant. We said, hey, we can go out and in less than 15 minutes, we can assess any small business and calculate, are they objectively and transparently capital ready? If they are, we can take them to funding with a $100,000 guarantee. If they're not, we can fix it so they become capital ready. So that's where we get to the bullets. So if after the assessment is conducted, and these assessments can be conducted in person or online, individually or group, and again, you can see more about that in the procedure training, but the small business consultant conducts the systematic assessment, and there's only one of two scenarios, only one of two. Either they're ready for funding, which means they're capital ready, and if so, we'll take them immediately to funding. If so, they don't pay anything up front, they don't have any upfront costs, we take them to funding and we guarantee them a minimum of $100,000. Super credible. Now, if they're not ready for funding, in other words, we've done this assessment and they're not capital ready, they will understand exactly why. I have a client this morning I had a call with this morning, and he's a good man and he's well spoken, but it was this assessment that got him on track, because in his mind, he was kind of wiry, like, why haven't I been funded yet? Well, sir, let's go back. And his name's Charles. Charles, let's go back and look. Let's reassess your business. Maybe we've missed something. Maybe you are ready for funding, and it's our fault that you've not gone to funding yet. But that wasn't the case. So we're able to take the client through the process. If they are ready, great. Let's go to funding. No upfront cost. Let's go make it happen. Guaranteed. If they are not capital ready, then we can assist them with grant subsidized resources. And typically that is our startup package, which you're probably familiar with. So that tells us what state directors do. And in summary, not in detail, because the detailed training is separate of what small business consultants do. Again, 100% transparency. But if you want to become a state director, we'll show you how in a minute. It didn't cost anything. But as you're out talking to prospective small business consultants, we can take them through that procedural training before they sign up, so they know exactly what they would be doing, and then they can decide yes or no. That's important. You don't want people in the wrong role. Sarah's asking, can you do both? Can you be a state director and a small business consultant? Yes. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, so now let's get down to the money. How are you paid? So we're going to take a look at that here. How much are state directors paid? The startup grant pays state directors a flat amount per deal, $250. So that's the amount. Now the question has to be, well, what do I have to do to receive that amount? Well, technically nothing, because you're being paid off of the production of your small business consultants. What the small business consultants do is they conduct a systematic assessment, which is referenced here. So when those individuals go through, either the participant is ready for funding, we take them through funding, and then the state director is paid $250. Or if the person is not ready for funding, we plug them into the startup program, and then how much is the state director paid? $250. So what's nice here is the state director's comp is based upon the production of their team, which we've said, and it doesn't matter if the participants of the assessments are capital ready or not capital ready. The state director is paid either way. Okay, so let's do some economic modeling. So first of all, what are the variables? If you're going to be a state director, what are the two primary variables that you want to be cognizant of? How many consultants you have and how active the consultants are. And I would say that you kind of control, you certainly at least influence both. So we know that on a small business consultant basis, so each small business consultant that's on your team as a state director, we've already said you make $250 a pop. Well, then we would say, well, how many assessments are going to be done? How many small business consultants? Our goal, not required, but our goal is that our small business consultants conduct one assessment a day. That would be the goal, not required. Because you're going to have some small business consultants that are really good on your team and some that aren't, some that start fast, some that start slow, some that work full-time, some that work part-time. We understand, and all those people are welcome. But if we try to build some projections off of the typical scenario, the typical small business consultant will do one assessment a day. Okay, well, how many days are in a month? That varies, of course. February has 28, except leap year. Some months have 31. Let's just use round numbers and say that there's 30 days in a month on average. So for each small business consultant on your team as a state director, we project that you'll make $7,500 per month. Now, that's not bad. I mean, that's not get rich quick, but that's not bad. That's per consultant, assuming the consultant is what we'll say fully engaged. Now, some will be more active, some will be less, but that's where you come in as a state director. We want to help identify business consultants, get them onboarded, help them be successful. So those of you, we've got Alfred and Bernard and Charles and Dan and many others. Many of you are really, and Pia, many of you are very good at leading. And so this is an opportunity to be a leader, because you didn't have, as a state director, to make this, you don't have to do the assessments, but instead what we need to do is build a team of small business consultants that do the assessments. You're doing the goal setting, helping support, help mentor them. You don't really have to train them. We have the training already available. You could be hands-on or hands-off. I know different people have different management styles. It's up to you. I mean, the results come out quantitatively. the more productive, the more consultants you have and the more productive they are, of course, the more money that you're going to make. So we could do a few examples, and I hate doing examples because it can vary, but let's just go through. So we've already said that if you're a state director and you have just one small business consultant, and that one small business consultant is a typical one, again, probably no one's typical. Some are more active, some are less, but we'll just go with typical. Then you're making $7,500 a month, which we've already stated. That's redundant. Now, it would be even better to have two consultants on your team, wouldn't it? Now, we're talking about state directors, right? Take these states like Texas and California and Florida and New York and Illinois. I mean, you literally could have 100 consultants. There's no maximum. It's up to you. You'd want to build out the team that you want. If I were you, I would be looking to have at least one consultant per city, if not per zip code. Because in a perfect world, at least some of these consultants will be comfortable doing what I do and what some of you do. Go out to the library and do a workshop. Go out to the chamber and do a workshop. Be visible in the community. They don't have to be, but a good geographic spread is helpful, and that is consistent with the SBDC model. So if you had two consultants, obviously now you've doubled your income, $15,000 a month for being the state director. That's better, right? At least now we're into 6 digits, but it's a numbers game, right? The more consultants you have, the more productive they are, the more you make, right? No secrets to it. All right, so now we understand what state directors do and what small business consultants do, because it's important, because small business consultants are doing the work that the state directors oversee. We know how state directors are paid. Now we have to answer the question, well, how often am I paid? And we pay daily via wire if the state director wants to be 1099, which is their option, or if they want to be W-2, then we pay out every Friday via direct deposit. Benefits of being, well, let me change the words. Advantages of being W-2 are the following. You receive access to benefits. We have Blue Cross for health and dental. We pay 100% of that. We have principal for short-term disability, long-term disability, vision, and group life. And we pay 100% of that for the employee and family. So W-2, you're not paid as frequently. You're paid weekly. And of course, taxes are going to come out. If you're 1099, there's no benefits, but you're paid daily via wire. And that would be an option to each state director. Now, we can do the same thing for the consultants. Consultants have the option to be W-2 or 1099. Works the same way for them. Now, you might say, oh, well, if someone comes on and they decide to be a W-2 small business consultant, does that take them out of your hierarchy? No, not at all. So they could be 1099, you're W-2, vice versa, what have you. Okay, how is it that I become a state director if I'm interested? And again, we sent out initial communication yesterday, and we had an outstanding response. So some of you have already applied probably, but what will happen is there's a simple form on our careers page. And that's frankly where people go if they want to become a state director. And that's where people go if they want to become a small business consultant. Let's say you become a state director and then you're adding small business consultants. How do you add them? On the careers page. Super simple. Then what will happen is we'll send over the Adobe packet to formalize it. All right, and so we've talked a little bit about the startup business funding package, but this is the core. This is the fuel to the engine that allows this to work, and that's important to understand. And we've had separate trainings on that. But the startup business funding package is what allows us, after we've conducted the assessment, if the individual is not ready, not capital ready, it's the startup business package that allows us to get them capital ready. And so that is a key resource that we have through the U.S. Startup Grant. That also does provide access, geographic access to the Chapman Fund think many of you are familiar with it, but just in summary, there's many different places that business funding can come from, but there are some instances where the funding doesn't come from a bank. It doesn't come from a credit union. It doesn't come from an alternative lender. It comes from a tax-based authority. And that's what the Chapman Fund is. The Chapman Fund wants to give out money. They're actively looking for businesses. The downside is they'll only provide up to $250,000 to start or grow a business. And the Chapman Fund is geographically based because it's based off of a taxing district. But we provide that through the Startup Business Funding Package. And we've had a past training on that. Of course, all of our contact information is here. That hasn't changed. So let's dig into any questions, comments, concerns any of you have. So a number of you on the Zoom this morning are already state directors. You received the communication over the weekend. You've already enrolled. Welcome aboard. Once you become a state director, the first thing that's going to happen is we're going to send you a direct email and ask you to schedule a call for us using Calendly so we can do some goal setting. With goal setting, we want to identify, all right, how many small business consultants do we want to add in the near term? Today's the 15th of May, so we're still planning for May. So for example, Yvette is one of our new state directors. So hadn't spoken to her yet. It's only 8:21 Monday morning, but over the weekend we went ahead and sent her a text and said, okay, what's your goal? What's the number of new consultants that you want to add to your team this month? Her answer, let me go check. I don't want to misstate what she said. She said 12. So she's going to add 12 before the end of May. So now our job is to assist her and support her in doing that. But it's pretty simple, right? Because small business consultants don't have to pay anything to become a consultant. We provide them a free website to drive people to. We provide the training and support, and they become a small business consultant by simply going over here and filling out a simple form, and then we'll send them the career packet. Super simple. So again, some of you are new state directors. Welcome aboard. Some of you maybe are considering becoming a state director. So now you have a good frame of reference of what is it that state directors do, how are they paid, how frequently are they paid. This is not, again, MLM or network marketing, not speaking negatively of that business model, but that's not our model. We're just simply paying you a flat override of $250 a pop for every individual that completes the assessment, that enrolls in the programming. All right, so Pia has a question. She says she's excited about the opportunity. I am too. And she completed the form. That's great. Yeah, so again, we want to keep it simple. And I will tell you that we're not going to micromanage our state directors. There are certain requirements that we have, and that requirement is that we set up goals with you. We're here to support you, but you could be a state director on a full-time basis, on a part-time basis, on a very, very part-time basis. That's up to you. It's all about results. We're in this together. What we're wanting to do is have a strong and effective distribution system to help more small businesses access capital. We have a great platform now. This has evolved. Sometimes I'll get asked, well, when did this start? Well, this started in May of 1996. May 11th of 1996 is when we started putting this model together. But over the years, it's evolved. Now it's in a very good place, a very steady state. What we know is we need small business consultants to go interface with the small businesses. If they need leads, we can provide them leads for free. Their focus is not selling anything, but conducting these assessments. Once they conduct the assessment, we can determine, is the client capital ready? Not meaning, do they want money? Not meaning, do they need money, but are they ready for funding? That's the biggest gap, the biggest chasm in this whole industry, is there's a whole bunch of people that want money. They don't qualify. They don't know why. And people just want to set them up for high interest, expensive loans, subprime loans. That's not your or my model. We want to help them understand. We're providing financial literacy through the process. Are you capital ready? How do I know that? We're going to go through a 6-question checklist. You're going to see it. We're going to go through it. And either you are capital ready or you're not. If you are, great. We're going to take you to funding. Well, what's that going to cost me? Nothing up front. You'll just pay a performance fee based upon the results. People love that. No, I'm not ready for funding. Well, what do I do now? We have grant subsidized resources to help you. And that primarily would be if they don't have 6 yeses, then typically we're going to drop them right in here into the startup business funding package. It's awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Pia, for your comment. Any other questions that anyone has for us? If you want to learn more, certainly recommending going to the careers page. If you want to speak with us, obviously you can call, you can text, you can email us. We're continuing to add more staff. We're hiring state directors. We've talked about that. We're quickly hiring more small business consultants. We're also hiring admin staff. I interviewed a young lady Saturday, and we have an employment offer out to her. Anticipate that she'll be accepting that. She has to relocate, so we have to pay for that for her to relocate, get her on benefits, but we're going to continue to have more internal staff to support each of you. But this is a moving train, and it's going well. We're making a positive impact for clients. If you would like to plug in as a state director, now you know how it works. If you or someone else would like to be a small business consultant, now you know how it works and how you can generate revenue as a state director off of their performance. Any questions, comments, concerns? All right, Harriet's asking again about the state director agreement. There is a written agreement. We will send that to you via Adobe once you fill out this form on the career page. It's crazy simple. It's like a half a page long. And it's just clarifying, okay, you're going to be a state director. You pick the state of whatever state of Idaho or Wyoming or wherever you want to be. And here's how we're going to pay you. And here's your responsibilities. There's literally no strings attached. It's simple. It's clear. It's in writing. And so that's what we'll do is if you want to become a state director, we'll send you that 1 page. It's almost just an outline. So if you start to become a state director and you don't like it, you can quit. You do not have to continue. There's no penalty to quit. You can give it a try, see how it works, and then just walk away from it if you want. Now, if you're a state director, you're paid as a state director. If you quit as a state director, of course, then you're not paid as a state director. We're going to have to replace you. And whoever replaces you, then, of course, they're going to be paid as a state director. But that's an important point. All right, well, thanks, everyone. I certainly hope that you share the excitement that we do in this new role. It's a leadership role, and we are looking for a team of leaders, at least 1 per state, so we can go out and help more small businesses. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. We'll see you soon.